Buongiorno Mondo, and welcome back to 15 with Fosca, the podcast. I am delighted to be sitting here today with artist Vittoria Colonna in her beautiful studio. I should be the one not welcoming you. I know you're the one who's welcoming me today into this wonderful space, but thank you for accepting my invitation to be on the podcast.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm honored to be on your podcast. Thank you.
You are my first guest of 2025. This is my first interview of 2025. And so I'm feeling like this is a really nice way to start the new year. So I want to thank you for that as well. The interview with you, this Q&A has been a long time coming. Mm-hmm. We have not known each other for that long, but the minute I met you, the first time we met, we actually sat down and had what we should have probably recorded that at the time, because we had this phenomenal conversation about you and your background and your art and your life. And afterwards, I thought that would have made a really good podcast, but we'll do an even better one now. So I guess I want to start by asking you, you really are an artist and a creative in every sense of the word. As I said, we're sitting here in your studio. We're surrounded by beautiful paintings. We're surrounded by your palisanti, which we'll talk about in a second. But you are a singer. You're a filmmaker. You are really an artist in every sense of the word. So I want you to start by talking to us a little bit about your art and your work.
Oh God, it's not that easy just to talk about, let's just talk about my art, because it's constantly changing and evolving. But ultimately, I'm a very curious soul, and I feel I am in the search of freedom. Like, what does freedom mean? You know, and it's led me to filmmaking, painting, singing. Actually, you can hear outside that woman. You will be hearing opera outside the door. That is not me. That is the opera singers who blast their lungs out. I've kind of lived many lifetimes already in this lifetime, and I think really I'm in the pursuit of happiness, pursuit of joy and freedom, and trying to understand what it means to be human. And what does it mean to be a woman? What does it mean to be just to be? And sometimes I will create fantastical, colorful, utopian escapism worlds, whether if that's in painting or filmmaking, or this year I focus a lot on going back to teaching yoga, which has been a great discipline and has been so beneficial, not just to me but to other people, and that has felt really, really good. I would like to think that art has a purpose. I feel it does, but unfortunately a lot of people don't think it does. They just think it's a little, is it nice you do this, nice you do that, until they actually forget, like, what's the purpose of art? It's for me, it's expression. It also gives a voice or gives some sort of meaning to maybe putting words or images or music or sound to a particular mood. We're also kind of like the seers, the tellers of what's going on. We're very sensitive creatives.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm a kind of a total polymath. I mean, I'm completely and utterly... I've come to this stage where I just call myself a Renaissance woman. I think it makes the most obvious sense.
Yeah, and I think you are. I think you are in every sense of the word. And there are a few things you said about art and about yourself as a creative that I think are extremely profound and important right now, in the world that we're living in, especially. I think art can save us. I think beauty, creativity, human connections. So everything you're doing to sort of cultivate those things, and I especially like what you said about the fact that creatives, it falls on artists to take on that responsibility. And it isn't easy. The word tortured poet or tortured artist.
I'm over the word tortured.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a reason, right? In other words, I think when you feel things so deeply that you need to
Or we tap
meaning.
into the zeitgeist.
Exactly. Yeah.
We tap into the zeitgeist, and we maybe give a voice to what other people cannot express.
Exactly. And in a moment, I think, of extreme turmoil, whether that be internal or on a global level, I think all of us are looking for meaning, and whatever form, that meaning can take,
Absolutely. And I think I don't think artists should be, the only ones who are the messengers of this. I think it gives permission to people also tap into their own curiosities, because it's everybody's birthright. Everybody creates, every child creates. They doodle, they draw on their mother's walls, or they look at them when they have food, like,
Right.
It's a human necessity. And then at some point, you come into a point in life where society or the system kind of goes, okay, so what are you going to do? What's your path? What's this? Okay, you're going to be this, you're going to be that, we kill the dream a little bit once we start growing up. When you hear children like, I want to be this and that, and they think out of the box, and so I think it's everybody has the right to create, and then some people are mad enough to actually realize that I can't do anything else, and I don't think at some point, it's like a dirty word. Like saying you're an artist is like, I think of it's like an AA meeting, Artists Anonymous. It's like I'm an artist. Because, there's one thing to admit that you're an artist, but God forbid, if you're not a successful or famous artist, then you're a failure. Unfortunately, it's a bit how society looks at it, like, oh, you're a bit of a loser, aren't you? Where actually, you look at a lot of creatives and they're probably, they can teach the masses so much, just even being. So I think as well as making the work, your life should be the work of art. That's for me absolutely 100%.
Yeah. And I think you said it a few moments ago. You said you feel like you've lived various lives, right? And that's sort of, I think, the beauty of life is that you can give yourself permission to be who you want to be. I think the problem is also the way art has become such a sort of disgusting industry. Not even become. It's
elitist?
been so elite. And just the whole, where we place value and how we place value and what is deemed good art and what is deemed not good art and things like that. But you go right to the point, which is you couldn't do anything else. This is who you are.
I don't have an option. I've tried, believe me, I've tried, quote unquote, doing
normal things like me.
Whatever that is. But you're an artist in your own right.
I am now.
You're using your voice.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah.
So, whatever the tool is, or if you have many tools, just open up that toolbox and explore and discover and make mistakes. Actually, make bold mistakes. Actually, just try and make something bad even. I mean, I'd always invite people to do that because I think we're such perfections and, perfectionists and whatnot. So, and society has, obviously most artists will always, maybe will make their buck when they're dead, a long time dead. I mean, an artist is always more valuable when they're dead.
Obviously.
And you can see a lot of dealers will buy out the artist's work on the cusp of
Just really.
I mean, and there's those who have the lucky fortune in their lifetime to witness abundance as a creative, and that can be also a blessing as well as a curse sometimes,
Right.
And but I ultimately think it's a dharma, it's a vocation, especially for me in this lifetime.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, there was something else you said that I just wanted to go back to when talking sort of about the art industry now. What is it like to be an artist? Right now we're in Florence, so we can speak to Florence, but you're very international. Yeah. So please, I'm happy to talk about other realities. But what is it like being an artist today in a place like Florence, Italy?
Well, it's I don't know about other artists, but just for myself, my own experience is that, the environment informs so much of the work. For me anyway, and this environment it's different to, I feel more at home in a jungle space, in nature, being half naked, walking around, dancing and splashing color and being surrounded by crazy animals. But for me, that's in my element. I realize that's where I do my best, and with natural light. So daylight, I'm informed, like when I have my feet naked on the earth and I feel alive and I kind of go back into this primal state. I think has been the happiest times, and that could be anything. That could be experimenting, doing an art piece on the rocks in the desert. That could be in Ireland, putting yourself as your body in installation art piece in nature, whatever it is, or collaborating with other artists. Here in Florence, it's a very it's quite curated. You're always reminded of the past, and so what I found with most creatives, they only talk about the past, and I think it's great, that can inform you. It's great to know your art history and see the patterns, but you know, once upon a time, Florence was the center of innovation.
Yeah.
It changed the world, and I think that spirit has moved onto other places in the planet. That can't, you know, impermanence, you cannot escape it, so it's going to move. So what's happened now is that not just Florence, but Italy in itself has become a sort of Walt Disney of the past, you know. It's very much feeding to the tourism. You'll see every cheesy Michelangelo t-shirt going around and the Venus licking an ice cream or God knows what,
Yeah.
you know. So there is this... Yet it's spectacular when you go everywhere you turn. Like even every day I walk here, I see something new. I learn something new, and I see the symbols, and I see this, and I go, oh my God, how did I not see that before?
Right.
So there's so much here, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. You know, Steindl syndrome. You know, there's no accident why there's so many ambulances outside the Uffizi. Because let's be honest,
People are painting left
my
and right.
God, it's like a workout.
true.
It's like if I go in, I'm just like, okay, prepare yourself, have a really good meal before you go in, hydrate, wear your flats, bring water, and just make sure there's somewhere to sit, because it's so much, and it's so much, it's overwhelming. So I don't know, I think there is this thing, and everybody comes to Florence, everybody passes through Florence, so I find that really exciting. And but in a weird way, I find myself working against my environment. I have to do a bit of that because I feel like I get sucked up and swallowed, you know. Although this year I should say, I will be working on more of a figurative and Renaissance thing with another artist, in the way that feels really good to me, and it feels also it's a service to others. But I will say, like in the space we're in right now, I'm under the ground. Like I call this the womb, my woman cave, you know, of this old palazzo, which has been very much heavily steeped in the patriarchy. And I feel like I've created this sacred feminine womb here. And it's a cave. And so when you go into a cave, you go very much inwards. And, you know, I don't have the natural light here. I don't have the earth under my feet. I'm kind of cut off from the external source, so to speak. So I cannot escape myself here. And I remember once last year when I was delivering an art piece to Costa Rica. It was this huge, like 5-foot piece. And I started actually in California outdoors, and it was this beautiful long piece of silk, and I was painting I was painting all these incredible lush greenery onto it, and strelitzia and banana leaves, and it was just riddled with that incredible vitality of California in it. And I said, okay, I'll finish it when I come to Florence. And I came here and was like, oh my God, how am I going to finish it here? And I remember I started working on it, and I was like, this is not right. And so I really realized, okay, I have no natural light in this space. I don't like working with neon lights, to be honest. And so then I realized, okay, I'm going to have to use my inner light. I am the source of light. And so I turned off all the lights, and I finished the painting in the dark. And I flicked, and I just used my intuition, because I wasn't happy with what I was seeing, you know? And so when I shut off all the visual senses, every other sense became so heightened. And so when I turned the lights back on, I was like, brilliant, perfect. I finished the painting.
That's amazing.
And it was a very important lesson for me. So yes, the world, the exterior doesn't form the interior, but you can also use it to your advantage. So, the answer is the obstacle, kind of, funnily enough, you know? So, and like this space has definitely informed the work. I don't paint as much. I mean, I have to escape out to the seaside or...
That's what I was going to ask you next. So how, because I know that first time we spoke, one of the things that we did talk a lot about was nature. We talked about Ireland. We talked about how, and I would like you to talk about that a little now as well, what it is like to have the kind of background that you have. You are half Irish, half Italian, and you definitely have that very Irish mystical quality about you.
Jesus, look into my eyes now. It's because I can feel the spirits of the land coming through me. Yes, I do have that. I do.
You really do. And the first time we spoke, I said it to you as well. I said, Vittoria, I feel, this, but that energy, which, you really you really had to create your own universe, your own womb, this, sacred space, because you are so connected to nature. So how do you reconcile that?
Oh God, I still dream of my homeland all the time. And if I feel really lost, I will literally go into meditation and connect to every tree, the bogs. I can still hear the swans and the, gathering in the gravel pits, and I can see the sheep, I can see the horses, I can hear the sea, I can feel the pebbles really hurting underneath my feet as I'm trying to gracefully walk into this freezing water. I tap into it all the time, and funnily enough, I have a piece of earth here. I took back with me a chunk of my home earth, so if I do get homesick, I just touch it. So I am part of it, and actually, but I felt that same connection with California. I wasn't born in California, but my God, did I learn more about myself there, and I feel such an affinity with that place. It's so magical, and so I think, again, geography brings out all these different parts of you, but definitely, I mean, how blessed was I to grow up in Ireland? I really, now as I get older, I'm thinking, my God, I was so blessed. I got to use my imagination. I got to, the nature was my canvas. I remember when I was in New York one time and I was seeing all these like really young kids, and they were like little young adults with their laptops, and I was like, oh my God, and they're like, I want a matcha chai latte, and they were like speaking about, that's got saturated fat, and it's like, oh my God, you're not kids, like just live. Just live, just go out and roll in the mud, and and go on your bicycle down a hill and fall off or whatever. I don't know. I'm really, really grateful that I grew up on a farm, which is, farms are not necessarily safe. They're quite dangerous, actually. But I really let my imagination go wild, and I'm so grateful I had that expansion, I had that space. And so when I'm here in Florence, where the streets are so small, it's so tight, everybody knows your business, they know what you had for breakfast.
That's right.
They know
everyone.
Yeah, and mind you, a lot of the Irish are very nosy too as well. It depends on where you grew up in Ireland. But, so my community was a very secluded, I'm a bit of that, wild woman who wants to be left alone in the woods. A little bit, I am a bit like that. But at the same time, I do need people. I love the banter. I love storytelling. I love, just having a laugh, and not to take oneself too seriously. So definitely, I feel Ireland here with me. Actually, right there is my mum leading one of her winning racehorses. She was one of the first female Irish racehorse trainers in Ireland, and from the west of Ireland. Incredible woman. Oh yeah, my mother was, I always think of her as two characters fused into one. The Bull McCabe from the film The Farm, and Scarlett O'Hara.
Wow.
From, if they had a child, that would have been my mother. And I can feel, so I also link my home with her. I definitely feel her essence, her spirit, her wildness, her drive, her very tactile woman, never afraid to get her hands dirty and work hard. Whereas here everybody has, perfectly manicured hands. So it's a different.
It's a very different culture. It's a very different culture. And I also,
different.
But as you were saying, you were talking about it, and you were also saying sort of not
more
taking
sophisticated,
yourself, but also not taking yourself too seriously. It's these are cultural things as well. Like you have inside of you all that. I always, say to my daughter, what a gift it is, to have that, just automatically to be born and have those two cultures. It's always going to be a richness no matter what.
No, you have your world opens up. You don't know where you belong.
Right.
There is that. I mean, I don't know. Do you know where you belong?
No.
You'll look back in years to come and you'll be like, I'm so thankful. This confusion has given me big answers. But you realize that you actually have more empathy with outsiders. I mean, that's what I loved about America as well, was that, oh my God, I'm not that special here because everybody is an outsider.
It's true.
And you realize that, we've all come here to this place, whether we've chosen to or not, and we're kind of following this dream that we're trying to get off the ground. But there was something, you realize you had more in common with people, with the outsiders.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so grateful for that. And so, I love being outside of the box. I actually really celebrate it, you know. So it is distinct being Irish Italian. I will say that, probably a lot of Catholic guilt,
Probably, yeah.
I'm working on that. I'm really
that
working
could be
on that.
That's a lifetime project. That's going to be your masterpiece. If you can, because I have the Italian and the Jewish guilt. And that's
worse.
That's a real double whammy.
You have to really maybe go into Eastern thought.
I don't know. I try to go to a little place in my mind, the way you go to Ireland and feel the pebbles.
Where's home for you?
Well, home is just outside of New York City. So New Jersey, but we go back. When we go back, we go to the beach, which is not where I grew up, but which I love because I need to be near the water, and so does she. And that's a very comforting thing. And I'm not talking about the Arno. Arno's fine, but
God, it doesn't really flow that fast. The Arno,
I need a good ocean or a sea.
You need you need the crash. You need the unpredictability of the sea.
I love the ocean. That the Atlantic, but all the Pacific, of course as well, and the sea. So for me, I don't know yet where I belong or what I'll end up doing either. I think that's the blessing of being, of having that kind of duality, being comfortable in, one or more, two or more cultures, let's say. But also I love what you said about, just how liberating it is to realize, that you're with other outliers as well.
God,
and it's all good. It's not, I don't think, I think it's terrible that society tries to put us into neat little boxes and categories when a lot of us do fit in, and that's fine, but a lot of us really just don't. And I'm grateful for any kind of interaction I can have with creative people like you, because what I find then is that I know that I'll leave here tonight with a whole set of inspiring ideas because of our conversation. And so it's like, I don't know, I'm writing a lot lately.
Good.
And being with other writers changes you. It gives
writers that support each other as well. Because sometimes writers can be very, very, very sensitive, and they don't want to share. I love writing groups. I mean, especially with screenwriting, it's the best thing ever.
You have breakthroughs,
and everybody helps with throwing it in. So, but there's some writers who are very precious about the material. And actually, you know what you should do? I've started doing so much writing and just burning it.
Oh, you do?
Oh my God, it's the most liberating thing. It's the most liberating thing. I started doing it as a healing exercise. I do 12 minutes and I burn, and I just unconscious writing.
Okay. So what you do is you just write, sort of you go with the flow?
Well, yeah. I would start off with maybe, because here's the thing. First of all, I have the most beautiful handwriting, and I will admit that, and I will own it. I'm not being modest.
Own it.
Oh, darling.
Own it.
But I love my handwriting. But what I love about it, it's completely illegible. It just because I think as a child I grew up with my mother, she had my diary under her pillow. Oh yeah. And she would tell me, darling, never write anything down because it would always be found, like this. I'm like, oh my God. So I couldn't be, so I was afraid of ever writing my truth.
Right.
So now recently I have decided that I give myself permission to actually write whatever the anger or whatever the love or the joy, whatever it is, and not be afraid that someone will find it. And, you know, I don't know, one day they might want to put the archives of my writing together, or, you know, oh God, she couldn't spell, she was dyslexic, her writing is illegible, blah, 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 blah. And then I just burn it. And it's funny. And there was one time I did it through quite a challenging period, and it was a sort of psychosomatic magic, writing out the fears I have and not being afraid to actually voice it through the pen or whatever it was. And I burnt the page, and then I'm watching it go up in the flames, and it circles around the word I've written, God. It doesn't burn. And I'm like, oh, isn't that interesting? I burn it again. The flame goes a little bit more around the word God, but it doesn't burn the word. And then I go, okay, third time, come on, burn it. And it wouldn't burn. And it was really interesting. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, why did it circle the word God? So I'm still trying to figure that out. I have all these little weird mystical things happen. But I will say that unconscious writing where you just let it flow out of you. Sometimes I don't know who's writing through me sometimes. Sometimes it's my fear writing. It's my absolute livid hate. That's quite rare, but when it does come through, I really give myself permission. And I find myself, no, I'm not allowed to say that about that person. It's like, no, just put it on, because you're going to get rid of it. And then you turn it. So a friend of mine taught me this exercise, and she said that when you burn this, you put it into the earth, as if you're then watching. It's going to go into the Mother Earth, and she's going to take that and she's going to transform it, and something beautiful is going to grow out of it.
I love that.
So sometimes I'll bring it out and just chuck it under a tree or whatnot. So I think it's been one of the most liberating things. So I think every writer should just, before they, so they get out of their heads really and use that hands, because it's a tool that links to your heart, that you just start unconsciously writing. Doesn't matter. And even actually there's a book as well that goes into it, The Artist's Way.
The Artist's Way.
The three pages. But if you time yourself 12 minutes, just do this and then burn it.
And I like the idea of burning it. I like we're going to talk about burning in a second, because this is a perfect segue. By the way, thank you.
Darling, it's coming through.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for giving me the perfect segue to talk about your SOS Shamanka Pali Santi. But before we move on to that, I did want to comment a little on why I think this is a wonderful exercise. Not only just in terms of the discipline of writing, because that's any artist knows, any creative knows. None of this comes naturally. It takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of work. It takes years. It takes a lot of introspection. It takes a lot to produce. To produce pieces of art, whatever form they might take. So what I like that you said, beyond sort of the process and the ritual of writing, the burning of the fears, or burning those things that you can't say, but you have to write because they have to get out. You have to free yourself of them. Exactly.
It has to come
so
out.
When I first came to visit you that time and we had that first conversation, I bought for myself and for my intern one of your California sage. It's a Palo Santo, I bought. It's a Palo Santo. And I told you that, I think I told you.
You didn't tell me. You said something happened, but you said,
I lit it.
Now you're going to tell me.
Several things have happened. I also lit it today before coming over.
Okay.
But I lit it on election night.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, so I remember you had told me to be very careful, because you said it really burns.
This is the Palo Santo?
Yeah, the sage, the California sage.
Oh, the California sage. Yeah, the California sage that burns. You have to watch it.
Smells like heaven, by the way.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different thing, because for me, we were talking about sort of where I'm from, childhood, things like that. When I burn that sage, it smells like home, because sage is incredibly common, obviously, in cooking and things. And I don't know what connection my brain made.
It's a different sage, not the sage you have here in Italy.
But that one smells like my home.
Yeah, it's from California.
Right.
Yeah,
so it smells like Thanksgiving's in America to me. It's the craziest thing. Anyway, so I'm burning it on election night, eve, when things were still looking pretty good. and you had warned me. It said, it burns really, and I had burned it a couple of times, and it hadn't burned that much, right? So I was like, Vittoria probably just has to do that as a disclaimer. I'm an American. She probably thinks I'm going to sue her if I burn my face off. Anyway, that night, Vittoria, it would not go out. Okay. It was the craziest experience. I told Jada, I told you too. Jada's here taking some video and photos. And I'm like, okay, I'll just go with it, but it was like, I couldn't put it out. It just kept burning. It wasn't
supposed to go out.
It wasn't supposed to go out.
The spirit is still in it.
Well, I let it go. I mean, it did, but it burned long and smokily.
Yeah. Were your fire alarms going crazy? Or
no,
you had the window open.
It was fine. I had the window open.
Okay, so you let the negativity
into the
out.
garden.
Yeah, brava.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's interesting because in native, first of all, smudging is what the craft is called, and it's existed in many, many cultures. But it's predominantly, the one that I was taught in Ireland many, many years ago, but I believe the origins of it come from Native America. Okay, so. But most places around the world, they always have a ritual with smoke and purification. But the Californian sage that you have, so there's a way of actually smudging, and they say that if that is lighting, it means the spirit in it really has to clear something out. And there's a way of we have to clear ourselves first before we start clearing others or space, and that can be cleaning our words. It could be cleaning our eyes. Our ears. So I clean my words. So I only speak good words. I only see. I want to clean my vision. I want to heal and clean what I hear in this world. And then you clean over the top of the head and down the hair. So because the hair is energy, and you clean through that, and then you go down through the whole body. The hands, obviously, when you're starting to do this, you use your hands or you can use the feather, and then your feet. And practically, if it keeps burning, it means the spirit is it's cleansing. And I remember one time when I was I had this photographer. I said, "Can you take some photographs?" And setting up the web page and everything. And I'd just come back from Costa Rica, and where I got this wild idea. I'm going to make pop shamanic.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. Tell me where the idea came from.
So the idea. Well, I've always been around like very magical people my whole life, but I kind of had this thing here in Florence. I was getting frustrated. I was like, I want to make something that is art, but it's also affordable and has utility to it. Like it has a use, because it's not just purely an aesthetic or mental jargon. It's actually something, how can I give people an experience and also tap into their own wisdom, their own teachings? And already the work has been going more in a pop shamanic, sometimes pop paganism or pop spirituality. So I really wanted to make it accessible, but also fun. And this is also personally for myself. So I created these tools, and I'm going to create these SOS, so Save Our Spirit, pop shamanic tools, because it will also bring people together, cleanse, clean, because by God, we need enough cleaning in this world.
As much smudging as possible.
And even with because I got to admit, when I first came to Florence, I felt a lot of evil eye. Got to be honest, I felt a lot of. I was like, why do I feel this and feel that? Because I'm very sensitive. And so I started smudging, and I realized, I do feel a lot of
like
judgment,
energy,
let's say. And so I created this tool as a protective tool. And also I thought, this would be a great, kind of an entry into what the work is. And so SOS was born. And when I went to go and do this photo shoot, I had come back from Costa Rica, and I had the worst vertigo. When I say vertigo, I have never experienced vertigo in my life. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if I got it by surfing. Did I get a bug? But by God, I was like literally on my knees, like hurling.
I've heard it's terrible.
It's awful. Yeah. I mean, I had to... I was in Ireland, and I had to help my dad back because he can't walk properly and whatnot. and the two of us ended up being wheeled in wheelchairs. And because I was so bad, I was just vomiting, getting sick, and people go, oh Jesus, she got COVID, and I'm like, no, sure, I had too many jars, because otherwise they wouldn't believe me I had vertigo, so I just pretended I was hungover, and they were like, yeah, sure, grand, get her the wheelchair now, we'll bring her right through, fast pass, you name it, out they go. And it was hilarious. And my father turns to me and goes, oh, you're supposed to look after me, not they have to look after you. So anyway, I come back, and I have for the next month up and down this vertigo. I go to the ortolino, I get my ears checked. He goes, yeah, the crystals have subsided a bit. Now you do these exercises,
you had to do the maneuver.
Yeah, blah, blah. Didn't really work. And in the meantime, I because I'm a bit crazy, and I was like, I have to do this art project. I'm collecting all this driftwood and sticks, and every time I bent, I was like, woo. I looked like I felt like I was drunk all the time. Right. So it was awful. And sometimes you're so incapacitated, you're lying in the bed, and you're like, I can't even get up. I mean, what the heck? So I crawled my ass out of bed with really bad vertigo, and I had to do this photo shoot, and like, okay, I'm going to turn up, I'm going to do this, and I'm there going, this is how you use the SOS, being very nice. And the same thing happened. It started burning and burning and burning. It was like, okay, now it needs to go out. Okay, no. It doesn't want to go out. And you're not supposed to really put it out in Native America. They don't want you to do that, because it means it's still clearing. Right? But because, I'm in this guy's studio and whatnot, like, I don't want to have the liability of like burning his place down. I was thinking, oh my God, the sprinklers are going to go off, the whole thing. So let's open the door. And I turned to him and I go, Michele, my God, your studio needs a clean. You have negative energy here, Michele, blah, blah, blah. And I'm telling him it's all about his space and him. Meanwhile, this smoke is going bananas around me. Like, it is swirling. I'm like, what? It's going in my eyeballs. It's going out my ears. I'm like, whatever hole in my body, it's going in. It's like, it's going all around. It's and I'm like, whoa. Suddenly, I felt this lightness happen. And before, I was like really having bad vertigo, and whatever happened, I was like literally just cleaning. And because I had to do, 10 takes, this is how you smudge and clear. And I wasn't doing it for the camera, I started actually doing it properly with my clear intention. And I realized that, oh my God, someone put something on me in Costa Rica. Well, that's another story. I met someone, and I think someone had left a certain something in my aura in Costa Rica that I had taken with me that I really felt was actually affecting my vertigo. So the smoke was going crazy all around me, and suddenly I have this surge of energy. I see the world completely different. My eyes are like opened. I feel so revitalized. And I don't have my vertigo. It just disappears, and it's never come back. And I don't know what happened. And I felt on this high, and I realized it wasn't this guy's space.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't. It was me.
It was whatever.
I was the one who knew the cleansing. And it's so ironic. Here I am trying to help everybody else, and it's like, you need to check yourself, sweetheart. And so I realized, oh my God, and I felt this, literally I was jumping up and down. I felt this vibrancy. I felt something had been taken away from my auric field. Whether, you believe in these things or not, they exist. They do. I'm sorry, fact. We have auras, we have arc lines, we have pranic bodies, we have all these different types of bodies. What you see, what you don't see. And you have intuition, and you can feel it. So whatever the permission of this plant, it cleared. It really worked. So it works.
And I believe you. And I not only do I believe you, but I've become a huge fan of these emergency SOS kits, and I gave them to everyone for the holiday. No, seriously, but there are a few reasons why. More than one. First of all, they're beautiful. So they are pieces of art. They're lovely, and the fact that they're accessible to everyone. So it made me very proud when, for example, a very close friend of mine just moved into a new home. Well, she moved in a year ago, but I hadn't had time up until now to give her a gift. But it was the perfect gift for her new home. Yeah. And she said, but it's so beautiful. I don't want to touch it. And I said, well, you can leave it there. She's a very important artist. So you can also just leave it there, but it's meant to be burned. Just know. And so the idea of giving someone something beautiful, that's useful, that's accessible, that's affordable, that's special, that's unique. I don't know. It just feels like it brings us closer also to doing something really simple that can make us feel better.
And it's also a reminder. It's like a little totem. What do you call
A
it in
totem.
Judaism when you go into the door? What do you call it? The
mezuzah.
The mezuzah. It's a bit of a mezuzah as well.
It's a totem.
So you can even hang it on the wall.
Yeah.
And so I even have like lavender. I have I have different types here. The Palo Santo. The Palo Santo is a different experience. It's more of a sweetness. I mean the sage is really, really cleansing.
Yeah.
It's also ones with dragon blood and lavender. And then there's and I have plans to kind of almost expand. I can't say anything just yet, but I do
that
feel.
Was my next question.
But it is part of creating your own ritual.
Yeah.
And also with other people. I mean, I brought them to dinner parties and people laughing. You should see them suddenly. I've seen people's mood shift who were in a bad mood and they just feel lighter, or the fact that they actually connect with a human being who smudges them too, and they look them in the eye, and it's just a moment of human contact, because we're in a time where it's really important we don't forget our humanity, because people are freaking about AI and this and stuff, but I feel like all these tools are starting to come back. I feel our ancestors were doing this for a long time, and it never disappears. It just got a bit forgotten, or they thought it was like only the special people knew about this, but it's accessible to everybody.
Right, and I think it's grounding. I think it's very grounding, and I think that it's something very simple, but taking the time, slowing down, taking a minute, taking the time that it takes to burn. What you were saying before,
you can't force it.
So that night, I just had to go with it. That night it was just burning, and I said, "I'll just go." No, it didn't completely burn through. It stopped at a certain point, but it was intense. And
it was an intense night.
It was an intense night.
So it knew that you needed a bit of cleansing going on.
I lit it again on New Year's Day, and that felt like a different experience. Although it burned pretty intensely that day as well, which felt good. I think there's something also in the symbolism of it. The same way you were talking before about burning the things you write. All those things that link us more to the earth fundamentally, right? So we're burning something that is purifying our air. We need something right now, I think, to give us a little more of that groundedness. And even if it's just literally taking that time to smudge, how much time are we talking about? A few minutes, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it takes, but to cut out that space to meditate, to have clarity, to connect with other people as well.
To connect to me, you look at churches and old temples, I mean, they always are smoking out people, and they're using all different types. It's not just a case of smelling, although in some cultures, yes, it was a way of banishing bad smells. It's also covering up, keeps the insects away, you name it. But I do feel, you don't have to look outside yourself to have the answers. It gives you permission just to... just to be still, just to breathe, just to focus. Because, I mean, the main thing of these tools is intention, and sometimes I forget. I forget my intention. I just do it, and I'm like, oh. And if I'm clear with my intention, like even before we started, it was like, okay, let's just take a breath because we're running. I've been running. You came with that we're like this. Oh my God, let's just like what needs to come through will come through. So I think attention's a big one, and yes, the world is going a little bit more bananas, and it will get crazier for sure.
I think so too.
And this is a time, and also people are being very divided, and people are torn apart, and you just need to be reminded that this is sacred.
Yeah.
Sacred, and just to keep that boundary. I mean, that's a word I'm learning a lot lately. It's boundaries, and it's not like a force, like you will not enter. It's like, no, it's a nice hedge, it's a nice boundary. Just don't cross it. And so, and that's the being that is being human. So they've been great. I've got to say that I'm so happy because I've heard crazy things people with them as well, and I'm like, I'm really happy, and because they're all individual and they have the elements of earth, air, fire, water. So, and it's just a very simple introduction, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else will be birthed from that, because I feel it kind of starts becoming its own thing, and then you explore into different fields, and now like I'm going off to India, so that will be an interesting purification in itself as well.
So this is sort of we're actually coming sort of to the end of our conversation already, which is surprising but not surprising, considering I knew this would happen. Of course, I haven't asked you any of the questions that were on my list, but that's fine. But one of the questions, without, of course, any spoilers, was sort of what is next for you, Vittoria. You do so many things. And you're leaving now for India.
I moved to India, yes. I'm. It's funny enough, it was not really a planned thing. It just kind of happened. It just... when one door closes, a mystical door opens to India, and that's what happened. And so I am going with a friend. We're going over to do a spiritual retreat in Rajasthan. So I'll be doing a lot of Kundalini yoga and working really... I've brought so many notebooks. I intend to do a lot of writing and a lot of burning. I feel that. And this trip is, for me personally, it's about going into and going backwards to go forward. Okay. So I was in India almost 20 years ago. It was it was a horrific trip. Horrific. Really horrific. I had an awful experience there. It was beautiful, but I went working on a project, and it was just a disaster, one thing after another, and I was quite traumatized when I come back. I didn't speak. Can you imagine me not speaking?
I'm so sorry.
For one who loves to talk, but it was, I felt I was very mistreated, and a lot of things happened, which I've now made peace with. So I thought if I ever went back to India, it would be under different circumstances and for a spiritual return, not for a work thing. And what's happening now is I'm also now, it turns out, it was interesting because I teach Kundalini yoga, and in Kundalini yoga we connect to this golden temple, okay, which is in Punjab and Amritsar, and practically every class opens up with Om Namo Gurudev Namo, and we tune into the golden chain of the teachers, which is linked also to this golden temple. And when the decision was, okay, yes, I'm going to India, I was dreaming of this golden temple, and then next thing my friend goes, oh, there's another thing happening at this golden temple, and it's doing the 84 steps, and we have to do something called Japji, or it's a past life, it's reincarnation, like it's cleaning all your past lives.
Incredible.
And I was like, oh God, I had a resistance. It's like, well, it's been popping up in my psyche, this golden temple. So, okay, let's do it.
I think 2025 feels like it's going to be a nice year. We've started it in a great way. I'm really happy that we started it like this.
Thank you. I'm thrilled too, actually.
Because this feels, also, I forgot, just on one last note, Andrew had a dream about us the other night.
He told me,
did he tell you?
Me, but I was like, what's the dream?
So I tried to have him explain it better to me, but we decided it was a sign.
Okay.
So the three of us at some point, we were doing something. We were doing some collaborative, if I understood him correctly, because usually we text, it's like 4 a.m. here and at night in LA. And but we were talking about, he was saying that we were involved in some kind of creative collaborative thing. And honestly, I think it sounds like a good idea.
Absolutely.
I think we should just go for it. Exactly.
Well, when the microphone is stopped recording, we should talk about that.
I think we should.
Absolutely. And we should, Andrew, get your ass back over here. It's a little hot now. California's under fire. Please get back.
Come back
safely. So
anyway, just another thing to think about for another one to add to your long list of things. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much.
I can't wait to see what ends up on the walls and on the pages and in your teaching, in your yoga
you have
teaching.
To come to class.
I will. Grazie mille.
Prego. Grazie. Grazie.